KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson and the Adahi Tano Program. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime limited powertrain warranty. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurants, always open, always local, and serving up favorites for over 40 years.
Now on prime time, from schools to restaurants, establishments report positive cases as Guam's total nears 400 cases of coronavirus. Plus, lawmakers are expected to debate a spending plan for the next fiscal year. And 23 years ago, Korean Air Flight 801 crashed in Nimitz Hill. A memorial was held today.
Hafide and good evening, everyone. As the number of positive cases climbs, several businesses, community groups, and schools have closed. This while the governor's physician advisory group evaluates how to close gaps to further contain COVID.
4 days since the start of classes, and Father Duenas Memorial School has closed its doors, forcing all students into remote learning. The news first posted on the school's social media and later circulating via a press release from the Archdiocese of Agena that a member of the school community tested positive for coronavirus. The Guam Department of Education today also confirmed that 2 Carbolito Elementary School grab-and-go workers recently tested positive for COVID-19. That campus, however, has already been cleaned and remains operational. Grab-and-go operations ceased on July 31st. Just this week, the popular restaurant Crust closed its doors after a COVID case, and just today, the announcement came from Proa in Tuman of it closing its doors after one of its staffers returned a positive test. On Thursday, the Guam Power Authority confirmed that 2 of its employees had also tested positive. Here's agency spokesman Art Perez.
The employees of the infected divisions have been notified. Intensive sanitation, which is an ongoing, intensive workplace sanitation is contracted out and it's ongoing throughout the week.
Also today, Calvo Select Care announced that a back office in their Hagåtña office caught COVID, but stressed no close contact with any customers. Also this morning on The Link, Chuukese Association of Guam Vice President Cass Nakamura confirmed a member of the Chuukese community who had arrived to Guam and attended a funeral the weekend of July 24th had also tested positive.
I would like to relay a message to our Chuukese brothers and sisters that it's a must that we adhere to all the rules and regulations concerning the prevention of the spread of COVID-19.
On Wednesday, the Department of Public Health announced that it would be taking further steps to ramp up contact tracing by implementing additional tracing tools for arriving passengers and stepped-up home quarantine monitoring. Physicians Advisory Group member Dr. Hoa Nguyen explains.
We are finding on the testing out program that a few people that are allowed to go home on quarantine because they have negative PCR pre-arrival, that they turn positive 5 to 7 days after they arrive in Guam. So that means that if they are not follow the home quarantine protocol and stay at home, they will walk around and spread the virus out to the community. So, those passengers really put our island at risk and their family at risk if they don't follow home quarantine.
According to the physician, he also plans to ask his colleagues on the Physicians Advisory Group to explore reducing the 50 people limit for social gatherings. Since Monday, there have been a total of 38 new positive confirmed cases of COVID-19. Island residents are urged to continue to practice social distancing and good hygiene, as well as wear a mask.
Meanwhile, Three Squares Restaurant announced on social media that a member of its staff tested positive. And also late this afternoon, KUAM confirmed with Benson Hardware that an employee tested positive for COVID earlier this week, but had no contact with customers. General Manager Monito Ko says they are working with public health to determine close contacts for testing. He says the store has been sanitized and is practicing proper safety guidelines. And the total number of COVID-19 positive cases since mid-March is now at 397. According to the latest Joint Information Center report, there are 8 new cases of COVID-19 out of 442 test samples today. Of those, 6 were from the Public Health Lab and 2 from DLS. The cases are under investigation. Of the new cases, 1 had recent travel to the continental U.S., 2 were identified through contact tracing, and 3 were identified through community screening. To date, there have been 5 deaths, 321 released from isolation, 3 hospitalized, and 71 active cases. 2 BP Carbolito Elementary School grab-and-go meal program workers tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. The Department of Education says the individuals have not been on campus since July 30th and is working with public health on contact tracing of other employees. GDOE says the campus has since been thoroughly cleaned in preparation for the new school year, with Carbolito Elementary remaining open and in operation with limited staff. All GDOE employees are undergoing training from August 7th through the 13th to prepare for schools reopening scheduled for August 17th. Superintendent John Fernandez provided a weekly update on our multimedia show, The Link.
Not only have we prioritized safety at the campuses, we've also given an opportunity for parents and students to elect one of 3 options, including 2 of those options being at home 100% of the time. Meaning, whether it's online or through hard copy lessons, those parents and those students who do not feel comfortable coming back to school, for whatever reason, they do have that option.
Fernandez says about 20,000 students have registered. GDOE is still accepting registration. Just contact schools directly. And the Department of Public Works is working to finalize its bus scheduling and safety protocols for when schools open in a couple of weeks. DPW Deputy Director Jess Garcia says they have a fleet of about 140 school buses ready to roll out. There are a total of 120 drivers, but about 30 won't be driving students because of pre-existing medical conditions. According to DPW's proposed busing protocols, only 24 students will be allowed per trip, and buses will be disinfected after every transport. Garcia adds that to ensure children are following safety guidelines, they are considering enlisting the services of the military.
What we're going to do is probably, like for the elementary kids, have the National Guard on the bus to make sure that this safe distancing and is abide to on the bus for the smaller kids until they become aware of how they're supposed to ride the bus with this COVID.
Garcia says they're waiting on enrollment numbers from GDOE in order to finalize their plans. Tourism may be down, but it's certainly not out. The Guam Visitors Bureau held a virtual quarterly membership meeting today where a recovery plan was outlined that envisions a much different industry than we've seen in the past. The overall vision for the future of tourism on Guam, says Vice President Jerry Perez, is, quote, a more digitized destination that is trusted in delivering a unique visitor experience that's grounded in health security, hygiene, and physical safety.
So it's important that as we address problems of today, we do not lose sight of the fact that we need to retool our whole tourism industry for a futuristic kind of an industry that is going to be far different than what we have been accustomed to seeing in recent years. COVID-19 has introduced a new competitive paradigm that's going to be centering less on brand-driven appeal and more toward health and hygiene safety protocols. So any destination that do not have anchored as its brand appeal, hygiene and safety are going to be left behind.
For the immediate future, GVB is sticking to its prediction of 400,000 visitor arrivals next year. Perez says they did an in-country survey of key source markets, which found that there is pent-up demand that Guam can benefit from perhaps in the second half of the year if the pandemic eases. He says there is an overwhelming desire to travel to a nearby resort destination, which Guam represents. Let the government budget debate begin. Lawmakers will meet in session next week to pass a spending plan for fiscal year 2021. Yesterday, Finance Committee Chairman Joe San Agustin finally released a revenue projection that he says the administration agrees with. But at least one senator believes they'll need a lot more information. $983 million is what Senator San Agustin and the legislature's Office of Finance and Budget say is the amount of revenue the government will collect for FY21, just 8% less than the pre-pandemic projection for the current fiscal year. But speaking on KUAM's The Link multimedia show, Senator Therese Terlahi, who's been pressing San Agustin to release the numbers, says only that it's a good start.
I want to commend OFB that they've actually got the administration to get off that, there will be no adjustments to the budget at all, right, down to a very significant change to Now we are looking at a reduced revenue amount, and we are going to work hard to make that work. I want to make sure we are going to take care of critical services, and we know what we have to do to take care of those critical services.
But Terlahi says the administration needs to be more transparent about its spending. She'd like to know more about federal CARES Act expenditures and previous appropriations that were never spent, like $10 million for hospital improvements.
The numbers are in, but the reports are not. They're not due till August 20. By that time, we're, almost at the end of our budget, deadline. And so that's why I'm asking for that information up front. How do you expect us to do a budget with this kind of information? And we should know, what type of deficit did they actually pay down, like they said they would, with the 2019 excess revenues? Are there any other excess revenues that they haven't spent? Because that would be very significant for us right now, don't you think?
Session is scheduled for 10 a.m. Monday. The legislature is required by law to pass a budget by the end of this month. The Interagency Council for Coordinating Homelessness Programs and Office of Homelessness Assistance and Poverty Prevention convened for their weekly meeting this morning. Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio.
There are 72 individuals in the shelter, including 15 children. And the shelter operations continue. I had a meeting with Civil Defense yesterday and GSA to get an update and to make sure that all of the notices are getting out to give the assurances that the shelter, of course, will remain operational, including with the support services.
Guam Behavioral Health Director Teresa Arreola presented on the accredited programs ranging from recovery residential services to crisis stabilization. She noted that they've served over 3,000 clients this year alone.
We can extend training to youth and adult, such as youth and adult mental health first aid trainings, to all the OHAP staff and anyone who needs it, who's involved in this effort.
She noted the increase of telecounseling because of the pandemic. The Department of Youth Affairs will be presenting at next week's meeting. 23 years ago on this date, the tragic Korean Air Flight 801 crash occurred on Nimitz Hill. 229 lives were lost, and today those souls are remembered. A memorial ceremony was held at the monument located in a remote area. Family, friends, loved ones, and Guam lawmakers joined the Korean Association to commemorate the 23rd anniversary. Ina Lee with the Korean community shared that she was working for the airline at the time and lost her brother who was on board the August 6, 1997 flight.
It was really hard for me to live a life that brother left while I'm working with Korean Air. But God is giving us that he's in heaven with no pain and resting in peace. So we got faith that we can live without it. But every moment, every year anniversary is painfulness to feel his soul. And he was my closest brother.
Lee says 185 bodies were never recovered, including her brother's. The monument is located on military restricted area, which only allows visitors to come pay their respects on this one day a year. Lee says the pandemic was not going to stop her from visiting her brother. A federal indictment was unsealed today charging Bhavna Kumari Damai with conspiracy to distribute methamphetamines, possession with intent to distribute meth, and notice of forfeiture. According to court documents, on January 1st, 2019 through July 5th, 2020, Damai conspired to distribute 50 or more grams of meth, and approximately $32,500 was seized. Damai is scheduled to make an initial appearance in district court tomorrow morning for an arraignment hearing before Magistrate Judge Michael Bordalia. The news continues right after this break.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
For all those going out each day, doing what they can to hold us all together, we're here to help those helping us all by keeping our lights on.
While we've all been through a lot over the years,
typhoons, earthquakes, and now COVID-19,
we've been able to get through these together.
For more than 80 years,
Calvo's Insurance has been protecting your homes, your businesses,
and the health of your family.
We are here today and we'll be here tomorrow.
There are better days ahead. Tomorrow's a new day filled with hope and choices.
The possibilities of what we can achieve together are limitless.
Let's continue to work together to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all of us.
What does a brilliant cut mean to me? It means consistent quality, right across the age expressions. We never compromise on quality and flavour.
It's also the very particular cut of spirit we take to fill our barrels. Tasting it today is just as exciting as the first time I tasted it. That is the brilliant cut.
After only a year and a half in Congress, Michael San Nicolas stands out for being one of 6 members in Congress that the bipartisan House Committee on Ethics is investigating this term. He also stands out for having the worst voting record this term, missing almost 52% of votes he could have cast for Guam. San Nicolas stands out for getting national coverage for himself and Guam on ABC News, The New York Times, Fox News, The Washington Post, and more. The investigation is examining if San Nicolas converted campaign funds for personal use, accepted improper campaign contributions, filed false reports with the Federal Election Commission, made false statements to government investigators, and improperly interfered or attempted to interfere in a government investigation. Here at home, San Nicolas stands out for refusing to comment on the investigations and not explaining how he missed so many votes. We can't afford to take another chance on Michael San Nicolas.
I'm Robert Underwood, and I approve this message.
KUAM News, winner of the 2020 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Social Media.
Welcome back. An international human rights organization and the law firm of local attorney Julian Uggan are challenging Guam's military buildup. They made a submission to the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the rights of indigenous peoples on behalf of Protege Letexan Save Retidian. Our Tomas Manglonia reports.
Blue Ocean Law and the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization file a submission with the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the rights of indigenous peoples, attorney Julian Uggan.
They're basically attempting to do, what is very difficult work, and that is taking the U.S. to task with respect to the various human rights implications of the current U.S. military buildup on Guam.
The submission on behalf of Protege Letexan Save Retidian brings Guam's movement further center of the international stage. It requests that the Special Rapporteur investigates harms related to the transfer of military forces and construction of the live fire training range complex, among other actions.
We believe a host of international rights have been violated with respect to both the lack of meaningful consultation with the entire island population on the one hand, and also the blatant disregard for the particular rights of the Chamorro people on the other hand.
He explained that the filing is the first of its kind, entering the office of the UN High Commissioner of Human Rights, based in Geneva.
This office is basically a very high-profile international expert who regularly publicizes human rights violations or human rights issues on a global stage. So the actions that they can take, for example, include issuing detailed allegation letters and reports, conducting fact-finding missions to investigate the contents of any submission. For example, in our recommendation section of the filing, we actually invite the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples to come and follow up and to conduct a fact-finding mission with respect to various components of the military buildup.
Maria Hernandez with Protege Letexan noted that the filing happens on the 75th year marking the U.S. bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Everybody who lives on this island should be deeply alarmed by the numerous compounding issues that inflict every person who calls us home by this project moving forward.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Tomas Manglonia.
Meanwhile, possible ancient Chamorro burial grounds have been found on military property. State Historic Preservation Officer Pat Lujan has called for a halt on clearing an area where the ancient remains were found. The official call from Lujan initiates a 45-day review and consultation period. Historic Preservation Committee Chair Senator Therese Terlahi says it's Guam's last shot to come together and call for more accountability and transparency with these and other recent findings by the military.
After I found out about that burial, I was shocked and very, very upset, actually. But I found out after that there are actually more burials in the same area. So it's like burial grounds, you know. So it's not a random finding.
The senator's call for buildup accountability was prompted by today's programmatic agreement meeting, which was not open to the public. Terlahi only learned about the meeting a couple of days ago, and she tells The Link this morning that she attended the meeting with Lujan. The senator says she's trying to shift funds to the SHPO's office to allow for the hiring of a public information officer that would disseminate information the office receives from the military.
None of this information that should be held privately. It really belongs to all of the people of Guam, and the more they know, the more you know, we can participate, and the more we can do something about it.
Terlahi also said access to information, build up construction areas, and even photographs of findings discovered in those areas need to improve. In regional news, CNMI Governor Ralph Torres and public health officials relax more restrictions. They've gone weeks without a confirmed COVID-19 case due to community spread. The last was June 3rd. In an amendment to emergency directives, curfew in the CNMI is now from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Barbecue gatherings of no more than 25 people at beaches are also permitted with social distancing. Public businesses are allowed to open now from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. As of today, Saipan remains at 46 confirmed COVID-19 cases. More residents in the CNMI can finally expect to see pandemic unemployment assistance. At a press briefing this morning, CNMI Labor Secretary Vicky Beneventi said that her office averages 300 to 500 applications a week for weekly benefits. KUAM asked about the remaining initial payments expected to be paid out.
We're targeting, Thomas, for about 5 to 10 million. We're targeting. That's our target. We want to process as many poor applicants, but if these applications have been found to be inaccurate, incorrect, or employer documents are missing, then that number will probably go down. But that's our target, between 1,500 applicants to be approved and about $5 to $10 million to be dispersed.
She adds that their benefit payment control unit at the Labor Department continues to investigate possible fraudulent claims.
I'd like to not quantify that at this time because the investigations are just starting and I don't want to hinder the process. I prefer to, keep that for later news as soon as we confirm the numbers and the situations.
The community can report any possible violations at 670-989-9095. Beneventi adds that virtual community outreach is expected to take place in the coming days to assist applicants. Up to $10,000 in grants is now available to nonprofit groups. The Guam Economic Development Authority launched the new Qualifying Certificate Community Contribution Program. The funding comes from the Guam Regional Medical City and the Subaki Hotel as required under their QCs. Applications will be accepted from August 6th through the 20th. Projects must fall within one of 7 categories: healthcare, public safety, higher education, cultural preservation, tourist attractions, sports tourism, or economic development. And telecommunications company Docomo Pacific has launched what it says is now the fastest wireless service in the region. Company president and CEO Rod Boss made the big announcement in a virtual news conference today.
If you've been part of our 5G journey, you'll know that we've been saying that the future is coming. We've said that the future is ours, and today we are proud to announce that the future is here. Mobile 5G has landed on Guam and Saipan, and we are the only service provider in the Marianas to offer the 5th generation of mobile technology to you.
Fifth generation mobile service will allow customers to experience speeds of up to 250 megabytes download and up to 15 megs uploads. Docomo will start with 5G hotspots at Skinner Plaza and Ipao Beach. The service is available for LG V50 and Samsung Galaxy S20 handsets. It won't be available for iPhone until the 12 series is released. The company says, quote, 5G is the gateway to the next level of innovation and technology, such as self-driving vehicles and virtual reality for remote learning video connections. And coming up, in case you missed it, Bree and Chris talk with the AG's office about Guam's eviction moratorium. Keep it here.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your fourth meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live Más.
At the mall, as you enjoy shopping, dining, or entertainment, you could also win 3 great cars from Atkins Kroll and thousands of prizes in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game. Present your mall receipts and have a chance to win the 3rd car, the head-turning Lexus ES350 Luxury. Getaways to Manila, courtesy of Philippine Airlines. Plus, prizes from Foot Locker and Burger King. Virtual drawing date 10 a.m. August 22nd. Watch live on Micronesia Mall Facebook. Play and win in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game.
No matter what size adventure you're into, it's better in a Hyundai. And introducing the Venue, the newest member of the Hyundai SUV family.
Small businesses are an important foundation in our island's growing economy. They provide essential goods and services to our community while preserving local traditions and creating new job opportunities. Your responses to the 2020 Census of Guam will help small businesses receive the information they need to thrive for years to come. Respond today. Together, we can make a difference.
King's welcomes you back with our King's Time value menus, full of great deals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We hope to see your family soon at King's.
For the Love of Burgers is back with 6 of our most popular burgers, each for just $9.99 for a limited time at Ruby Tuesday Guam.
Take the party home with our new Get It To Go menu. Combo specials and kids meals, pizza, wings, and more. Now available for carryout at Chuck E. Cheese's Guam.
Welcome back. This morning on The Link, Bree and Chris spoke with the AG's office about an important topic during this COVID crisis, the island's eviction moratorium.
During the moratorium, the courts aren't having eviction lawsuits. And the point that I want to drive home with that graphic is that there's basically a 2-phase eviction process, and you haven't been evicted. No one's been evicted until there's a court order saying that you got to get out of there or we're going to send the marshals in. Right. So because the courts aren't hearing eviction lawsuits, there's no evictions in Guam. But a lot of people are getting the notice phase. They're getting the notice from their landlords saying you got to pay or get out, or you got to stop doing this, that, or the other thing, or get out. And they think that means that they've been evicted. And that's usually when we get the call. Sometimes they're halfway through moving out and then we get the call. So the people of Guam, at least in my experience working this landlord-tenant stuff, you know, they get the notice to pay or vacate and then they try to get out. And then sometimes it's, well, I have nowhere else to go, so maybe I should stop moving out. And that's when we get involved and start negotiating. So some people have moved out. Some people have just been looking for enough time to get out before they get evicted, even though that's, like I said, not happening at the moment. So some people have moved out. Some people have stayed. It really varies from case to case.
Right. But does this all hinge on the tenant kind of protesting the whole process? Because I know of a couple cases where people were evicted and they just listened. They were, okay, I'm evicted. And they got out. And nothing ever went to court and nobody got, it never really got
So then you wouldn't be evicted though, right?
Well,
if it never went to court, you just got the notice. But
Right.
as a tenant, you have that right to stay there because there's no court order?
Correct. But I think in some cases, what I've seen is the tenant is just like, oh, they want me out, so I'm going to move out. And I guess they had another place to go or whatever.
It's the situations we're seeing are kind of mixed bags. Sometimes it's happening, and yeah, it's a lot easier to keep a tenant in housing than it is to get them back in once they've already left, which is why it's important that the public understand you haven't been evicted until you have that court order. And the situation that you brought up, Chris, is actually a pretty important distinction, because while you can't get evicted, there is still an obligation to pay your rent and your mortgage. So the situation that we're trying to avoid is kind of a balloon payment, right? Suppose that the pandemic goes on for a total of 12 months and then the moratorium expires, right? What we don't want to have happen is on that first day of no moratorium, landlords going to their tenants and saying, you owe me 12 months of rent, pay it all to me in 5 days or else you're evicted. So, every tenant needs to make that decision for themselves. But they can't get kicked out without a court order. But if they stay, they still have an obligation to pay. It's just whatever consequence may come from that. It might happen once the moratorium ends.
Right.
What if your landlord gives you a notice and says, well, you need to pay up, and if you don't pay me in 10 days, I'm going to double your rent. Can they do that?
So the moratorium, the ban, says that there will be no initiation of eviction proceedings. And in a lot of ways, the notice phase is the first step in an eviction proceeding. So, I'm not going to give legal advice over the air, but what I will say, if I was a landlord and I was trying to kick someone or evict someone from my property, I would wait until after the moratorium had expired and then proceed in the normal ways that my landlord attorney had advised me, just so that way there's no question about it later.
For the complete Zoom interview, head over to KUAM News' YouTube channel. Up next, your birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
It's our network that has enabled the digital society that we all work, study, and live in every day. In Guam and the CNMI, the network connects us to vital services like hospitals and emergency care. Through it, we disseminate vital information that keeps you up to date. I'd like you to all know that we're totally committed to the network, and especially in trying times like these, we are all better together.
My child, Ekongo, listen. The winds are singing. The ocean is roaring. And the trees are dancing. Our island is moving once again. In Afamolik, our unity has carried us through the stillness of today. And now, the spirit of half a day is yearning for our friends to come home.
Nana, is it time to bring all our friends back now?
Hungen, yes. It's time for the world to give us a moment together.
And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
Okay, everybody, August 6th, happy birthday shout-outs going out to Lucas Creed Mad. Happy birthday number 1 coming from Mommy, Dad, Brother, Jessica, Andrew, Brother Theo, also from Grandma Trudy and Ann, Papa Rick, Ma T, and Auntie Aggie. They say they love you, Lucas. Happy birthday number 21 going out to Megan Mabalta. Happy 21st birthday, Megan. Always remember, we love you very, very much. That sentence was in all caps, which means they mean business. Much love coming from Sister Marina, Mom, and Jim. The Del Rosario family is celebrating today because it is Sheila Del Rosario's birthday, and they say they love you from the entire family. And happy belated birthday wishes to maybe Sheila's relative, Kikoa Rome Del Rosario, born on the 30th of July. Happy belated first birthday. We love you again, says your family. To the Del Rosario family, the Mobalta family, and the Mad family, we hope all of you guys celebrate. Be safe, wash your hands, stay socially distant, but celebrate because it's your birthday today.
And to register for the birthday club, just go to KUAM.com. That's our report for tonight. Thanks for watching, everyone.